Welcome to Belief, Being, and Beyond with your host, Granddaughter Crow. Hi everybody, Granddaughter Crow here with yet another episode of Belief, Being, and Beyond. And I have a wonderful author guest for you today who has traveled the world and all of this. Let me introduce you guys to Amber C. Snyder. And here, let me tell you a little bit about Amber. So, Amber C. Snyder is an NYC, New York City based author, journalist, editor specializing in culture, travel, design, and spirituality. And her bylines can be found in the New York Times, HuffPost, Teenage Vogue, goes on. The list goes on and on and on and on. She has received an MA degree in liberal studies from the City University of New York Graduate Center, where her research focused around ancient and modern mythologies. This will be a rich conversation. Esoteric symbolism, yes, goddess worship, and the divine feminine. I am so happy and pleased to introduce you guys to Amber. Say hello, Amber.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. That was an incredible opening. Wow, thank you.
Isn't it funny how, we just kind of live our life and then all of a sudden we have our credentials and then all of a sudden when somebody reads it back to us, it's like, who is
Yeah.
that? I want to
Who would
know
you
her.
It all said out loud. Yeah, it's all true, but thank you so much for that introduction. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, on Belief, Being, and Beyond, I love bringing great people to great people. I love being able to talk about a plethora of different worldviews around spirituality, around belief systems. And you have a book coming out
Mhm.
in February 2025 called Wonderment.
Mhm.
And I have been looking through your material. I have been researching you online, and I am just really excited about spending this time with you, talking about wonderment and philosophy and science and et cetera, and so forth.
Well, it's an honor to be here, so I'm excited to chat with you.
Yeah, one of the things as I was going through the book, you do talk about philosophy, and I mean, you use all of these different things, which I do too in my books. I kind of
Mhm.
hit spirituality and then I take us into the science aspect of it, and I take us into the philosophical attributes of it, and the natural world. And you
Mhm.
do as well. So there's a fun things for us to talk about. The first thing I want to kind of say is that Patrick Hegel, which is a world-renowned philosopher, actually talked about spirit and put it into three categories. I'm really kind of, distilling it down to a granddaughter crow way of looking at it, although it's really powerful. He says that there's three types of spirit. One is subjective spirit, which is the I to me, and it comes out in a lot of our sciences as like psychology and things like that, the study of self. The second type of spirit that he's talking about is objective spirit. And objective spirit is that which is outside of ourself. And this we can see in the studies of sociology, ecology, all of those ologies outside of self. But then he says absolute spirit can be seen in religion, in philosophy, and in art. And when I saw that, I'm like, those are the higher forms of expression of consciousness. And when
Mhm.
I look at your book, you talk about art and culture and travel, and you're a wonderful storyteller. And it really inspired me because this would be the epitome of what I would define as absolute spirit, defined by
Mhm.
Patrick Hegel.
Well, that's a huge compliment. I think I'm really fascinated with Hegel for a lot of reasons, and I think that if you found that this book is representative of the absolute spirit. That's incredible, and that's amazing to hear. I'm really interested to see what ignites other folks and what gets them going in terms of their interest and what they can take away from this book. But in terms of Hegel and the three-part spirit, I I really think that these three parts are more of mirrors of or the two other spirit parts are really mirrors of the absolute. And this is also a Platonic idea, right? This comes from Plato 2,500 years ago, or more, more than 2,500 years ago. And he believed that there is a realm of absolutes, right, where absolute beauty and truth and love and justice exist, right? But we've never really experienced that in this earthly incarnation. So, according to Plato, I mean, not to jump around too much from Hegel to Plato, I'll get back to Hegel in a minute, but for Plato, the everything on this earth and everything in what we call the spiritual realm mirrors this absolute, right? This higher realm. So I think Hegel is also kind of pulling from that Platonic thought in a certain way, but I'm more interested in his view of the dialectic, right? Which is the thesis, the antithesis or the antithesis, and the synthesis. And we can look at history according to this dialectic, the way history functions, the way it progresses. And I think we can also look at our spiritual journey as a dialectic process, right? Because I think we come into this world not necessarily as a tabula rasa, a blank slate. I don't necessarily believe that, but let's just posit that we do, right? We just come in as a tabula rasa. We're bombarded with, dogma and ways of thinking, and we kind of come into our own being with a thesis, right? With a way of viewing the world, a way of existing in the world. And then part of any, I think, spiritual journey or spiritual awakening involves some kind of antithesis or antithesis in that Hegelian way. Now, eventually, according to Hegel, there is a synthesis, right? And then that opens up a new thesis, which it opens up a new set of questions. Now, that process, I think, is a lifelong journey, right? There's no like destination. There's no, well, of course, one could say there is, but I think that while we're at least in these physical bodies, that's what that spiritual process will continue to be, is this uncovering and this discovery of the self, of the other, of the way that everything is really integrated, and that consciousness is part of the fundamental fabric of reality. And so, I'm pulling from these ancient thoughts to make kind of a new synthesis in the world, or at least a call for a re-examining of our theses and our antitheses in a way.
I
It's
love
very
that.
it's a very academic opening, but
Yes, it is. It is one of the most academic openings that I've done on this show, and I love it. The
yay.
the beauty around it is I like the concept of us mirroring
Mhm.
and our experiencing mirroring the absolute spirit or the absolute. And just like you were talking about with all the dogma and everything, a lot of that is like human rhetoric, human understanding. And so when I'm looking at your book and you're talking about art and animals, and those are the expressions without the human rhetoric, right? A picture speaks a thousand words, and finding the beauty in just the natural world, which is what I'm all about, hello, granddaughter crow, shaman. And this whole understanding of, if you want to grow internally, you can reflect on the beauty of the travel that you've done, the experience, the stories, and the animals. And I mean, it's an all-in-one book, people. It is literally all in one. So
It's kind
I
of all of my obsessions in one too, all of my fascinations over the past 20 years. Because when I started writing the book, actually getting down, and writing it, I realized it was going to be difficult in a way to kind of pull all of these fascinations together because in my mind, I see the interconnectivity between them all, between witchcraft, between ancient philosophy, between metaphysics and modern science, right?
Yes.
So I I wanted to structure it in a way that it hit all of these my own personal fascinations, while also showing the reader that you have your own unique journey, right? And everyone's experience is going to be different in the world, but to take that and find empowerment within that, and know that you have all the tools within you. You don't have to even necessarily travel. That's just one way to, I think, experience new awakenings, whether they be spiritually or culturally or otherwise.
Yeah.
But travel is just one way to do that. But I will say, Granddaughter Crow, it was interesting to kind of find the way to put all of these different topics under one umbrella. And I had a series of aha moments when I was writing the book, like that's what it is, right? Or that. So the book is about journeys, but it was also a journey to write it as well. And it was its own kind of discovery for me as a writer,
I love
which
that.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's true because it's like an interweaving. So I'm just going to let the audience know what we're talking about. Here's a little bit about the chapters. She goes into consciousness, energy, nature, spirits, the dark night of the soul's in its darkness, reincarnation, the calling, etc., except the divine feminine. And so weaving all of those ideas together in this wonderful all-in-one Wonderment book that you can pre-order today, and or if you're watching this in the future, feel free to order it. You can order it straight from Llewellyn worldwide. Shout out to Llewellyn. Or you can go to any local bookstore. I love, honoring the locals
Same.
and just ask them, say, hey, I really need Amber Snyder's book, Wonderment by Llewellyn. They can pre-order it and you can pick it up from them. So anyway, yeah, the aha moments of being an author and writing. I mean, you are an editor. You work with, great words and things like this, but as when you're writing about your own personal, like you said, obsessions, experience, perspective, it does kind of it does the aha moments, but it also kind of makes you just dig in a little bit deeper to even yourself and your own exploration. And then the reader gets to dig in a little bit more to themselves and their own experience and life, you know, using your life as a framework to
Mhm.
experience the divine as well as self-knowledge. What do you
Mhm.
think about that?
I think you definitely hit it on the nail. The way each chapter is structured, and this is also definitely a testament to the editors at Llewellyn as well, because they always believed in my vision, and it was just about getting to the end point, right? So the way each chapter is structured is there's an introduction to the topic or theme. Then there's a personal narrative, right? Something that I've experienced in my own journey. And then it moves into what I call a deep dive into the subject. But then each chapter contains a series of practical techniques and rituals and exercises that the reader can then employ in their own life, right? Whether that be, sorry, New York City, whether that be, working with the tarot or candle magic or ritual baths. There's a ton of writing exercises in there, art exercises. So I really kind of wanted to give, I think this is the journalist in me too, like a practical gifts for the reader, that it's not all this philosophy and very, some parts I think it's intense because we're talking about really deeply profound truths throughout history and throughout cultures and throughout a myriad of practices.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to have the sense of grounding within the book, where, yes, this is my experience, this is my knowledge that I've acquired, this is about my various practices, but here's how also you can use this knowledge in your own life for your own growth, your own spiritual journey. And I think that is really important for this book, is to, because I wanted it to be a gift, right, for readers. And so much of this knowledge has been a gift to me, by various teachers in my life and mentors, most notably Dr. Miller, who I mentioned multiple times, who was my kind of first philosophy professor. And he just fed me books and knowledge for years and years before he passed away. So now I feel like, in a way, this book is my kind of giving back of everything that I've studied and practiced. And, I want it to be a gift to the world.
Yeah. Yeah, and it certainly is. Um, the Rin, which is, I'm just gonna say, you guys, it's the last part, and it's the last part of the book. I'm just gonna say the Rin, and you guys have to pick up the book to figure out what I am talking about. But I'm just paying respect to your teachers and your mentors and all of that.
Yeah.
So, you guys, there's so many more things I want to just talk to Amber about. Look her up, www.ambercsnyder, SNIDER.com. There are so many articles, the travel, the books, the beauty. Tell us a little bit more about, like, what do you do?
Mm. So I also, I've taught university in the past. I'm not currently teaching at this moment. But one of the things I always tell my students is follow what moves you and follow your passions. And uh, that's where your success will be. And I don't necessarily believe in success in the traditional ways that I think Western society does. I think that that's something that we have to define for ourselves. But for me, writing was something that I always knew I was going to be a writer ever since I was a young child. So I've spent my entire life, working on craft and also really hustling in New York City to make that a reality, right? It's not an easy life to be a professional writer in this wild, expensive city. So, I really had to utilize my own gifts and my own calling, my own passions to eke out a living for myself, right? And that was through journalism, through editing, teaching university, as I mentioned. So these things will always, they're not just like what I do, they're also who I am. I find it funny because sometimes people will ask me, like, well, what do you do? Like, what do you like to do? I'm like, I like to do those things. Like, I love teaching, I love writing, I love researching. It's built into the fabric of my being. So I really want others to think about like what moves them and help them follow their passions, because that's what I tell my students. I would tell them, yes, we're at a university, you're here to get a degree, but don't think of this class or this degree as a means to a job necessarily. We're here to be students of life and to spend this like sacred time together, like in community. And for me as a student and as an educator, I've gotten so much out of that mentality. So, I mean, what do I do? I'm a seeker, right? I'm a seeker. I'm a curious, creative being that is always hungry for new knowledge and yeah, and beauty in the world, right? And yeah,
I love that because, you made a really good point there about what is success. And a lot of times we are told what success is, house, dog, whatever, and a certain amount of income, certain type of car, certain type of clothes. But that actually traps us. And so every now and again, I will sit down, like maybe every 5 or 10 years, and go, what does success look like in my life right now? And it doesn't have to do with how much money, it does have to do with being comfortable, having my needs met, but it has to do with self-expression. I love to say that curiosity is our internal compass that leads us home to our authenticity. So when people say, they look at me and they go, "Well, what do you do, Granddaughter Crow?" I'm like, "I'm a curious student." And then I love to share it. So that makes me an author, a teacher, that kind of thing. And I see that same vibe in you.
absolutely. I think I put in the book, curiosity is the prime mover. It's the first thing, it's the first step of any journey, whether it be academic or professionally or artistically or whatever it may be. Like curiosity is, I think, the foundation for all great achievement, all great inventions, mathematical discoveries, scientific discoveries. It always begins with curiosity. And I think as we grow in the world, as we, grow in our age and in our bodies, the world tries to beat that out of us in some way. Like the world, like imagination, curiosity, staying open. It's not something that it's not as easy to have, right? Because life is hard. Like even doing the things that we love can be extremely difficult, right? Because there's always sacrifices. But I really believe in curiosity, and that's something that's fueled, I think, all of my work is just this insatiable need to question as well, to question everything and to um, find venues for expression and help others do the same, which is, I think, also a foundational teaching from, my original mentor. He would always say that we're here to explore our gifts, we're here to share them with others, and we're here to help others find their gifts. Like that's our raison d'etre, that is our reason for being, that's our purpose. And for me, that really resonates with me. And I've used that as a motto and a driving force, I think, my entire life.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. So if you're enjoying the Belief, Being, and Beyond podcast and would like to support it, I'm on Patreon. Just go to Patreon, Granddaughter Crow, or you can find it at granddaughtercrow.com. Thank you so much. Absolutely. Absolutely. So once again, curiosity and wonderment. Okay, so here's another question for you. How did you know that we need this book in 2025?
Timing is a strange thing. I think I have not an entire chapter dedicated to the concept of time, but I have a very large section on it and using trees and the consciousness of trees to kind of demonstrate how time is a very tricky thing. I didn't know. I had no idea. The book has been in actual like production for 5 years. So I got the book deal with Llewellyn a little over 5 years ago, and it was during the pandemic.
Right.
And I was teaching, as I mentioned, university at the time. And I noticed that my students were really going through it, to say the least. I mean, most of my students, most of them came from very socioeconomically disadvantaged
Of course.
neighborhoods or homes in the past. They're first generation college students. I myself am first generation college student. So I really empathized with them because I saw that, they were struggling in really serious ways in terms of their, mental well-being and spiritual well-being. And the act of being a professor what became I feel like I took on so many different roles. I was also a friend, a therapist, and I realized that, there is a need for this kind of knowledge, and these kind of practices. So I saw it more in with my students, and then also around the same time, um, Dr. Miller, my dear friend, we've had a letter writing relationship for 17 years,
Wow.
and he passed away from COVID. So that was kind of this catalyst. And I knew that I wanted to write this book. But those two things, I think, were the catalysts for this is the time to do it. I wanted, dedicate it to him and to all the women who walked before me, but also in a way as a gift to my students because I just saw how much of this is really needed. And yeah, so that's how it began as an actual like, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do the thing. But a lot of the research and the work that is found within the book has been ongoing for 20, around 20 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, how do you tell us a little bit about behind the curtain? How are you feeling about the release of this book? We're recording, the book is gonna be coming out here on February 8th, 2025. Again, pick it up. It's a book that is going to inspire and refresh your spiritual path, guaranteed. And it's just like one of the things that I want to say really quick as I kind of go off topic is I love the storytelling. It's very engaging. The way that you write, it's just like, oh, more, more. It's a page turner.
Oh, wow.
It is. It's a page turner. And I'm just like, I could sit here and listen to this forever. So now I even forgot my point because I'm just like, it's a page turner. But it's a beautiful book. It will refresh and inspire you. Tell us, oh yeah, behind the curtain. How are
Yeah.
you feeling with the book coming out?
Oh dear. It's just such a huge mix of everything. I mean, I'm nervous, of course. So much of the book, I'm wildly excited. I feel like I'm really giving this sounds so cliche, but I'll say it anyway. It does feel like giving birth to a baby in the world. I mean, this is my creative, intellectual baby, my spiritual baby, and I I feel really honored to be able to put this out there in the world. I feel incredibly grateful to everyone who's had a hand in the making of this book, my editors, the art department, friends, family. I mean, just all of it. Um, and then, another side, I'm a little nervous because so much of it is very vulnerable and very raw. And in my journalistic work, most of the time I'm featuring, other thinkers and other people out there in the world. So this is kind of turning the lens back on myself, which is not necessarily an easy thing to do for me, um, because to talk about your own work and so yeah, it's just a confluence of so many emotions. But I
Yeah.
think the highest one is just gratitude and like ecstasy in a way because I, yeah, I've worked so hard and so long on it that it really feels like a piece of me that is going out there in the world. So,
Yes. It is. It is a piece of you. And as a fellow Llewellyn author, I know what it feels like to have the editor come back and say, tell us some more stories about you, about yourself, and there is a huge vulnerability because, like, I don't want to sit here and tell the whole world about, whatever, but actually, that's what makes it so rich. People want accessibility. They want to feel that you are tangible and feel like they are a part of your experience. And so thank you for doing that. Again, Wonderment by Amber C. Snyder, www.ambercsnyder.com. What are your social media? If somebody wants to follow you on like IG, what are your handles?
sure. So I'm not a huge social media person, but it's on Instagram, it's at magical ambs, AMBS. I also have a separate Instagram that I started for the book called Wonderment Book. And I have a professional page on Facebook, and then of course the professional channels of LinkedIn and so forth. But I'm not on X anymore or whatever that's called.
Right, right,
And
right. I hear
I'm
you.
not, yeah, I'm not, but yeah, anyone is welcome to reach out anytime. I would love to hear uh, how, if the book means anything to you, what you took away from it, and what spoke to you the most. I'm really excited to hear from others and to hear their journeys too, because that I think would just be a gift to me to, for people to share their stories as well. So,
I love that. I absolutely love that. Again, pick up your copy today. You can pre-order if you're watching this before the release date of February 8th, 2025. Happy birthday to the book. So let me see. Is there anything that you would like to share with the audience about either your book or whatever? Is there something that you kind of want to tell us as we approach 2025?
mm, well, I think more than ever, we need to. Uh, I think one chapter in the book is going to be important for the point that I'm about to make, and that is the power of ritual mythology and storytelling. And so much of that chapter is about the need to bear witness to the stories of others. When I was in undergrad, I did a lot of trauma studies and studied traumatic narrative, and it changed my life. I mean, it changed my academic life, my writing life, the way I kind of the way I view psychology, all of it. So bearing witness with such a huge, uh, how do I word this? Bearing witness is so necessary, I think, right now, and cultivating empathy and promoting tolerance, especially, in the face of oppression and repression and destruction. So there is, I think, a need for ritual more than ever. There is a need for storytelling more than ever. There is a need to share your creative gifts more than ever. And just by sharing your truth, your authenticity, your art, your thoughts, that is a radical act, right? To be vulnerable is a radical act. And I don't believe necessarily in fighting fire with fire. I think that there is a way to elevate our consciousness as individuals, as communities, as a country, and really kind of go beyond the very hateful rhetoric that we're seeing in the
Right.
world right now. And I think that, there's so much the world and our country and our communities, healing is so important right now. I mean, we all need it. And it's this part, of course, is going to sound cliche, but kindness and empathy, I think, should take precedence over everything right now. We have to be patient with others who do not think like us, who may not believe the same things. And yeah, so I think that chapter in particular, ritual, the power of ritual, the power of storytelling, bearing witness, and holding space for others with stories to tell, especially if they're different from us. That's really important right now, and I think that that can help promote healing in some way.
I
At
love
least,
that. Yeah, I know. Well, it's kind of like come back to tribe, come back to sharing. I am Navajo, and up until maybe 200 years ago, it was strictly an oral culture.
yes, yeah,
Storytelling is huge, and it's a very traditional thing around the globe to be able to pass along knowledge and to connect with each other. I think like what you said with the pandemic and the shelter in place and the feeling of maybe disconnect or oppression and all of these kinds of things, to bear witness of each other. When I feel seen, I smile.
yeah,
And I love seeing other people too, because there is an energetic exchange and uplift when we bear witness. It reminds me of just even the observer effect from quantum physics. It's
yes,
like
yes.
when something is being observed, it changes merely because it is being observed.
Yes, exactly. And to add to your point, I think that we are mirrors of each other in so many ways. We can't possibly know ourselves, or according to the ancient Greeks, we can't know thyself
Right.
without another, right? Without someone else to bear witness. And that is why, community and friendship and building new spaces for others to kind of come together, it's more important than ever now, because we can only know ourselves through others, I think.
Yeah.
So you definitely, I agree with what you just said, 100% for
I
sure.
I love it. I love it. So I could talk to you for hours. Like, we need to go teach at the university together and we can come at this because there's so many similarities.
Let's do a dual class. Let's
We
pitch a
should.
course and like let's do it. I'm
Yeah.
ready when you are. Where
Yeah.
remind me where you're based again?
I am actually in North Glen, Colorado, which is right outside of Denver, Colorado. But we
Okay.
can do something online.
An online virtual class. I think that would be amazing.
I do too, because it's very, very beautiful to blend philosophy and science and the natural world and art and culture with spirituality because they mirror each other, and just that whole concept of don't put spirit in the corner, you know,
Yes, yes.
don't
It's
put it in
definitely
a box.
yeah.
What's that?
It's definitely been siloed. And even in academia, I think it was kind of looked down upon in certain ways. I felt like I was always trying to push for space to talk about spirituality and be taken seriously as an academic, as a scholar. And luckily, I think things have changed in recent years. But I mean, when I was in graduate school, I think it was a very different time. I mean, these concepts were still they were just viewed differently, right? And now the university is finally coming around to see the interconnectivity between these subjects, which is exciting.
It
So I think it's
is.
a great time for academia too, as well.
I do too. I think it's great. There was this old story about a scientist and a spiritualist set out to climb the mountain. And once the scientist got to the top, the spiritualist was there. And the scientist was like, how did you do this? Couldn't understand. And the spiritualist is like, it took you long enough but we need both, right? We need the building blocks and the research and the foundational, uh, all of that kind of stuff, and the proof and the scientific method and to the tangible part of
Mhm.
it. But spiritualist is just like, oh yeah, everything is connected. We know that.
We've known it for thousands of years. So,
I love it. I
yeah,
love it. I love it. I love it. So, Amber, thank you so much for being on Belief, Being, and Beyond.
thank you so much. This has been amazing. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. So, please pick up your copy. If you want to bless her back, go to give it a review. Authors thrive on reviews. We want to know what you're thinking. She wants to know what you're thinking. Again, www.ambersnider.com. And if this episode is something that you go, huh, my friend Sally would like to hear this, share, like, subscribe, hit the notification button. And if you are listening to this on your favorite podcast um, station, you can text the show. Seriously, there's a little button. Just scroll down, push it. I will get the text. I won't see exactly where you're coming from. So you can put your name or be anonymous. You can text the show. And if you'd like for Amber and I to do a workshop together, let me
Yeah.
know. Let me know. Awesome. So thank you so much. I've had a wonderful time and I love you, audience. See you on the flippity flip.